Welcome back to Building Foundations, your deep dive into securing, well, one of your most valuable assets, your home. This is a really crucial follow-up to our last conversation, episode 22, where we talked about basement humidity, causes, cures, and control. Today, we're tackling a question that really hits home for so many Toronto residents. It's one we hear constantly here at DGI Waterproofing.
Oh, absolutely. We get this one all the time. We're getting right into the heart of it. How much does it cost to waterproof a 1,000-square-foot basement in Toronto? And it's a question loaded with implications, property value, health, just plain peace of mind.
Exactly. So our mission today is to shed some light on what basement waterproofing actually involves, what factors really drive the cost, and maybe most importantly, why it's not just an expense, but truly a vital investment for homeowners right here in the GTA. We've pulled insights from our own extensive experience, naturally, and specifically from our latest DGI blog post on this very topic. We want to help you feel informed and confident about protecting your property.
Yeah, think of this as your essential guide. We want to help you see past just the price tag to the real value underneath.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We often talk about home improvement, but why is basement waterproofing in Toronto specifically not just some simple upgrade? Why is it an essential investment? What makes our city, unique here?
Well, what's really critical is understand Toronto's specific environment. We're not just dealing with average rainfall. We have this highly unpredictable climate-heavy downpours, sometimes really sudden ones, and then these wild temperature swings. That combination, especially the freeze-thaw cycles we get, where moisture gets into tiny cracks, freezes, expands, thaws, making the crack bigger over time, it puts immense stress on foundations.
Right. I've heard about that cycle being particularly tough on concrete.
Exactly. And then you add in the high groundwater levels common in many Toronto neighborhoods, and, well, you've basically got a perfect storm for water getting in. It really elevates waterproofing from just a routine task to a critical shield for your home.
So it's definitely not just about a little damp spot or a minor drip then, is it? We often hear from homeowners who think, oh, it's just a little dampness, it's harmless. Can you maybe paint a picture for us? What happens when that little dampness gets ignored for too long? What are the real costs, beyond the immediate fix?
Yeah, it's unfortunately a cascade of consequences. Neglecting it can lead to some really severe escalating problems. We've seen homeowners facing extensive mold growth, and that's not just ugly. It's a serious health hazard, especially if you have kids or anyone with respiratory issues. Beyond that, the water itself can compromise the actual structure of your home. It weakens the foundation, can damage support beams, leading to incredibly costly repairs down the road, repairs that could have been avoided.
Wow.
What starts as maybe a small damp patch can quickly affect everything: drywall, flooring, even electrical systems, insulation. It's way more than just a bit of dampness. It's a threat.
That's a pretty stark reminder. Okay, but beyond just preventing those scary outcomes, what does effective waterproofing actually enable? What possibilities does it open up for a family? Because it sounds like it really changes how you can use that basement space.
Oh, it absolutely does. Proper waterproofing isn't just about stopping damage. It ensures your basement becomes genuinely usable, dry, and importantly, healthy space. Imagine transforming that potentially damp, maybe musty, neglected area into a really versatile part of your home. It could be a family room, a home office. So many people need those now. A gym, an extra bedroom. Especially here in Toronto, where every square foot counts, right?
Yeah.
This dry, reliable area significantly boosts your quality of life and just the overall function of your property. It's about maximizing your home's potential.
Maximizing potential. I like that. Okay, now that we understand the critical why, let's get into the what. We know the big question is cost. So what are the main things that make those waterproofing costs vary so much? I'm guessing it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all price tag.
You're absolutely right. It's highly variable. One of the biggest factors is simply the size and let's say, the specific needs of the project. A larger basement, like the 1,000-square-foot one we're focusing on, naturally needs more materials, more labor. That's straightforward. But beyond just the size, the scope of the work is huge. Are we just sealing a few cracks that are leaking? Or is it a more systemic problem needing a full perimeter waterproofing system? The more extensive the issue and the solution, the higher the investment.
Okay, that makes sense. And our deep dive in the blog post really highlights two main approaches: interior versus exterior waterproofing. Can you walk us through those? How are they different, and how does that impact the cost so dramatically?
Sure. So exterior waterproofing. This is generally seen as the most comprehensive The most effective method. Why? Because it tackles the water problem at the source outside your home before it even gets to the foundation walls. It involves digging down, excavating around the foundation, cleaning the wall, repairing any cracks, and then applying a waterproof membrane. Think of it like a really tough, flexible barrier to those exterior walls.
Yeah.
Now, because it involves all that digging, it's usually the most labor intensive, and so it tends to be the most expensive option.
Right, the dig it all up approach definitely sounds thorough, but yeah, I can see the cost implications. So what's the alternative? What about interior waterproofing?
So interior waterproofing, that works differently. It focuses on managing water after it has already seeped into the basement. Typically, this means installing some kind of drainage system inside. Often, it's an interior weeping tile or a drain system around the perimeter right at the base of the wall where it meets the floor. This system collects any water that comes in and directs it to a sump pump. The sump pump that automatically pumps that water out and away from your house. Sometimes interior work also involves applying sealants to the inside walls.
Okay.
Generally, it's less disruptive, no big excavation outside, and it's often more budget-friendly than the full exterior approach. But, and this is important, while it's good at managing the water that gets in, it doesn't stop the water from reaching your foundation walls in the first place, like the exterior method aims to do.
Got it. So stopping it at the source versus managing it once it's inside. That's a key difference. Another thing that comes up, especially with that exterior work, is access. You mentioned excavation. How do things like how deep the foundation is or how easy it is to actually get to the walls play into the cost?
Oh, that's a really significant factor. Huge. Imagine your house is built on a slope, or maybe the foundation goes down really deep, like 8, 9, 10 feet. The excavation just becomes much harder, takes longer, needs more care. Or maybe access around your house is tight. Close neighbors, a deck built right up against the house, mature trees and landscaping you want to preserve. All these things can mean our crews might need smaller, more specialized equipment or just more manual labor, maybe temporary removal and replacement of landscaping or structures. It increases the difficulty, and yeah, that increases the cost. Every property is unique.
Definitely sounds like it requires a proper site assessment. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Something crucial for our listeners in Toronto.
Yeah.
How do costs here compare? Compared to maybe other cities or even other parts of Ontario, what are those local market things that affect the price?
Yeah, look specifically at the Toronto market. There are definitely a few things that tend to push costs up compared to some other areas. First, local contractor rates. Labor costs in Toronto are generally higher, just reflecting the city's overall higher cost of living. That impacts wages for skilled trades. Second is materials. Toronto's climate, those wet conditions, the freeze-thaw we talked about, often means we need to use specific, more resilient waterproofing materials, things designed to really withstand those extremes. And sometimes those higher performance materials cost a bit more.
That makes sense. You need stuff that lasts here.
Exactly. And lastly, sometimes local regulations or even environmental concerns in certain pockets of Toronto might require specific types of solutions or extra steps, which can add to the project cost too. It's just a unique economic and regulatory landscape here.
Okay, that paints a really clear picture of all the variables. Now, for the part many people are waiting for, the numbers. Let's dive into that detailed cost breakdown for a typical 1,000 square foot basement based on DGI's pricing guide, like you outlined in the blog post. But first, a really important reminder, right?
Yes, absolutely crucial. We need to stress that all the prices we're about to mention are approximate. They are estimates, ranges. The final cost will definitely vary based on the specific conditions of your basement, the materials you choose, the exact scope of work needed. Think of these numbers as helpful benchmarks, not firm quotes you can take to the bank. Get a specific quote for your house.
Got it. Crystal clear. Okay, so let's kick things off with exterior waterproofing for that 1,000 stick base tip basement. What's the ballpark?
Okay, for exterior waterproofing, our typical cost range is somewhere between $50 and $300 plus per linear foot. Now, to picture that, think about measuring around the outside edge of your basement walls. For a standard 1,000 square foot of base basement, that perimeter is often around 120 linear feet, give or take. So, doing the math, that could put the cost anywhere from roughly $6,000 on the very low end, perhaps for a shallower, easier job, up to $36,000, or potentially even more.
Wow, that's quite a range. $6,000 to over $36,000.
Yeah, that higher end usually involves factors like very deep foundations, needing to excavate through rock, really difficult access, maybe extensive repairs needed to the wall itself before waterproofing. But this method, remember, is ideal if you're dealing with significant persistent water intrusion, or if you just want the absolute best long-term protection because you're tackling the problem right at the source.
Okay, that range certainly reflects the thoroughness, but also the potential complexity. What about interior waterproofing for that same 1,000 SQF basement? What kind of costs are we looking at there?
Right. The interior approach
Wow.
is generally less expensive and less disruptive.
Yeah.
For that same 120 linear feet of perimeter, the cost might range from about $6,000 up to maybe $24,000. Our typical range for interior systems is usually $50 to $200 per linear foot. So it's a really practical alternative if maybe the budget is tighter or if digging outside just isn't feasible or desirable for your property. It's very effective for managing minor leaks or adding a strong secondary defense against moisture.
Okay, still a significant investment, but potentially less than the full exterior job. And then there's something the blog calls a comprehensive approach to basement waterproofing. It seems to look at the whole space walls and maybe the floor too. What does that involve, and what's the cost picture there for a 1,000 X score FT?
Yeah, so for a comprehensive approach, which might involve treating walls and potentially applying a sealant or membrane to the floor surface as well, our typical cost range is about $6 to $8 per square foot. So for the entire 1,000 square feet basement area, you might be looking at a cost somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000. This is a really solid option if you want maximum protection across all surfaces, especially, like you said, if you're planning to finish the basement.
Hmm.
You want to ensure it stays completely dry, healthy, and ready for that new living space.
Right. Protect that renovation investment. Now, the blog post also mentions some other related costs homeowners might run into, like fixing foundation cracks specifically or dealing with mold. While our focus today is squarely on waterproofing that 1,000 Esquada space, it's worth just quickly noting these other things have their own costs, correct?
That's absolutely right. They're often related, but distinct costs. For instance, a targeted repair for just a single foundation crack, maybe using polyurethane injection, could typically run somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000. Mold remediation. Well, that cost can vary wildly depending on how bad it is, how widespread. It could be $1,000 for a small area, or in severe cases, tens of thousands, even over $100,000 if it's really extensive and requires major remediation work. Even waterproofing newer homes has its own specific rate, often lower, maybe $2.75 to $4 per square foot, because the foundation is usually in better shape to start with. So yes, these are separate but important potential costs. But today, yeah, our main focus is that 1,000 FNFE general waterproofing.
Okay, perfect. So we've got the methods, the costs, the variables. How does a homeowner actually choose the right method for their specific Toronto home? What are the key things they should be weighing up?
It really boils down to a few core factors. First, your budget, obviously.
Yeah.
Second, the actual condition of your foundation, how sound is it? And third, the specific type and severity of the water problems you're experiencing. As we said, exterior is generally the most effective for serious ongoing issues and for long-term prevention, but it's the bigger investment up front. Interior is less costly, less disruptive, great for managing existing minor leaks or as a backup, but it might not provide that same complete preventative shield against water ever reaching the foundation. It's often a balance, a trade-off.
A trade-off between absolute prevention and upfront cost, it feels like. And how do Toronto's climate and just the age of many homes here factor into that decision? Does that push the needle one way or the other sometimes?
Yeah, if we zoom back out to the Toronto context, our wet climate, especially for older housing stock, often makes robust solutions more necessary. Those freeze-thaw cycles we keep mentioning, they really do a number on foundations over decades, creating pathways for water. This often makes exterior waterproofing a more critical, maybe even necessary investment for true long-term structural integrity, especially in older homes. The existing condition is really paramount. If your foundation is already showing clear signs of deterioration, maybe multiple leak points, shifting significant cracks, exterior work might honestly be the only way to properly address the root cause and prevent further, more serious damage. It's not just about stopping a leak then, it's about shoring up the bones of your house.
You know, hearing all these complexities, the different methods, the site-specific issues, the long-term implications, it really underscores the value of getting professional help, doesn't it? Why is going with professional waterproofing, like the work we do at DGI, truly worth that investment? What's the long-term play here beyond just fixing the immediate leak?
It's fundamentally about long-term savings and security. Look, a quick DIY patch might seem tempting to save money now, we get it. But truly effective, professional waterproofing can genuinely save you tens of thousands of dollars down the line.
Yeah.
How? By preventing that severe water damage, the nightmare of extensive mold, potential structural failures. That initial investment prevents far bigger, far more stressful repair bills later. We hear heartbreaking stories sometimes, families putting off the work, only to have a finished basement ruined by a sudden thaw or heavy rain, or finding mold affecting their kids' health. It's often preventable.
And it's not just about avoiding loss, right? A dry, properly waterproofed basement actually becomes a positive asset, especially in a competitive market like Toronto's.
Absolutely. Boosting your home's value is a major, often underestimated benefit. A dry, professionally waterproof basement isn't a liability, it's a huge selling point. Buyers in Toronto are savvy. They'll often pay a premium for a home where they know this crucial work is done, where they see a reliable, healthy, usable space downstairs. Some studies suggest homes with known moisture issues can lose like 10–15% of their market value compared to similar dry homes. That's a direct hit to your equity. Waterproofing protects and even enhances that equity.
That's a significant financial point. And finally, what about the quality assurance? The peace of mind that comes from using experienced professionals like our teams at DGI. What does that really mean for a homeowner?
That peace of mind, the reliability, it's invariable, really. When you work with reputable professionals, you get the backing of comprehensive warranties and ongoing support. If, down the line, an issue were to somehow arise, you're covered. That saves potential future costs and a lot of headaches. Plus, you're getting our expertise. Our teams have seen it all. We know how to diagnose the real problem, identify all potential water entry points, not just the obvious ones. We have the right tools, the right materials, the experience to handle even complex jobs properly, ensuring your basement stays dry and secure for years. It's truly an investment in certainty.
Okay, so to wrap things up, waterproofing your 1,000 square foot basement here in Toronto is definitely a crucial investment. Costs can range pretty widely, typically somewhere between $6,000 and maybe upwards of $36,000, all depending on the method you choose and the specific needs of your home. It's really not just about fixing a damp spot, it's about protecting your entire home, boosting its value, and making that basement a genuinely healthy, usable part of your living space. And we always recommend getting a detailed consultation and quote from a trusted, experienced basement waterproofing contractor like us here at DGI Waterproofing to understand exactly what your home needs.
Exactly. It's about securing your biggest investment, ensuring it's safe and sound for the long haul.
So here's something to think about. In Toronto's climate, a dry, healthy basement isn't just a nice to have, it's not just extra storage. It's a fundamental long-term asset that offers incredible peace of mind. It lets your home truly be that secure foundation for your family's life. What potential does a truly dry and secure basement unlock for your home?
That's a great question to leave people with.
For more details and to really dig into the specifics we covered today, please do check out our latest blog post on the DGI Waterproofing website. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive on building foundations by DGI Waterproofing. We look forward to building a stronger foundation for your knowledge in our next deep dive.